happier reading from school. In Francis Street School, we had a Christian brother named Brother Devan. We had him every single year. We were lucky enough in that. He was a good-natured Kerry man, and he'd have nothing of having a break for a sing-song in the middle of the class. So this is about what used to happen there. Now, Devan was a great lover of a spontaneous break. He would say, "A little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men," and followed that with 10 minutes of non-curricular singing. He taught us his own favourites. One of them was the Mia Sama chorus from Gilbert and Sullivan. There were 63 in the class, and we would all sing together, Mia Sama, uni mano mayani, pira suro no tangi na. Choco tangare na. Now, Father Bourne was a priest next door in Francis Street Chapel, and he called in one day to say that he needed 2 more altar boys, as there could be 40 masses said in the busy week in Francis Street. The problem was that we would have to learn the mass responses, and this would take time, particularly the Latin for the Confiteor. "Leave that to me," said the band. "My boys are gifted intellectually." There were 2 volunteers to become altar boys, but the whole class was to learn the responses to the Mass from the beginning to the end. The big difficulty was the Confiteor, so his solution was that we would learn it like it was a song and sing it off by heart. So we got it from memory after a few days. He told us to put up the book to one side, and we went into Confiteor Deo Omnipotendi Beata Maria Semper Virgin Beata Michaeli Arcangeli, all the way into the middle of the Confiteor, where everybody knows Quae Peccavi Nimbus Cogitazione, Verbo Opera, Mea Culpa, Mea Maxim Culpa. You would have heard through my faults, through my most grievous faults, the most ornate form of apology. Anyway, we were in the middle of perfecting the prayer one morning when David came into the classroom. He was the head teacher, with a stranger who turned out to be a school inspector. Devan explained what was happening, and the visitor seemed satisfied. When he was gone, our teacher told David that we were probably the only primary class in Dublin who knew the Latin responses to the Mass and could sing in Japanese. Well, this was news to us, but we didn't know that the Mea Sama chorus was actually in the Japanese language. 1 or 2 of us thought that it was Irish. Anyway, Devan was always on the lookout for new talent. Ollie O'Brien was his favourite singer, and he'd get the little party going for 10 minutes with Ollie singing the anthem song for Francis Street when they played football. It's a rare old thing to pray for, it's a rare old thing to know. For all we know, there's going to be a row, it's enough to break me heart go sad. We don't care whether we win or lose or draw, for all the heck we care. For all we know, there's going to be a row, and it's good old fella will be there. So, Ollie was introduced to singing in that fashion. He was a much better singer than that. But there was one occasion when the teacher asked a chap called Ray MacDonald to sing. Now Ray got up and he started to sing The Old House in a voice like a thrush. Lonely I wander through scenes of my childhood. It's like John McCormack. So I said to him, "How did you learn to sing like that?" But it turned out that during the summer holidays, he had been sent up to Dan McNulty, who taught the choir over across the road in the John's Lane Church. And he'd been taught sheet music, and he had developed a beautiful voice. So, I'm told, by the way, that he still has this voice. The brother of Ray MacDonald is sitting here beside me. It's marvelous. Anyway, one day he called on this guy, Rochford. Rochford lived down in the Ivy Flats, the Bright Street Flats off the Coombe. And he was very modern, he was writing the modern music. And Rochford starts into Calypso, which Devan, being a Christian brother from Kerry, had never heard in his life. So Rochford starts into he's stone cold dead in the market, stone cold dead in the market, he's stone cold dead in the market, she killed nobody but her husband. And the man is looking like this, staring at him, I'm wondering, Jesus, what have I brought along here? So, being a nice man, he said nothing. He started into the next verse. He hit them on the head with the frying pan. Instantly, he goes in. He grabbed Ratchford by the throat and dragged him out. And he said to me, "You sing that song. You know that song about being your own grandpa?" Okay, so I learned this. It was a trick song. I learned from Artist Concert, and it goes like this. Many, many years ago, when I was 23, I was married to a widow who was pretty as can be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red. Father fell in love with her, and so the two were wed. This made my dad my son-in-law and changed my very life. My daughter was my mother because she was my father's wife. To complicate the matter, even though it brought me joy, I soon became the father of a bouncy baby boy. My little baby then became a brother-in-law to Dad, and so became my uncle, though it made me very sad. For if he was my uncle, then it also made him brother of the widow's grown-up daughter, who of course was my stepmother. Father's wife and had a son who set them on the run, and he became my grandchild, for he was my daughter's son. My wife is now my mother's mother, and it makes me blue, for although she is my wife, she is my grandmother too. If my wife is my grandmother, I am her grandchild, and every time I think of it, it nearly drives me wild. But now it has become the strangest case you ever saw. As husband of my grandmother, I'm my own grandpa.